Hi, welcome to Sunday Chat, which is quite convenient, starting a Sunday Chat from New Zealand, because by the time most of you watch it, it is your Sunday anyway. Look at the size difference going from 1/48 to 1/32. That fuselage thickness, just the size of the thing. I'm really enjoying the size of this 1/32, but these 1/48s are also really nice, and I'm actually quite glad that I've got the three of them that I'll be doing. I do need to actually get moving on this one since it is so close to finished, but I would not have expected one little piece to evade me for so long. Okay, so on the inside of here, those thick joint pillars that come out of there is usually the prime candidates for sink marks on the top. And Tamiya's molding has got no sink marks on the top of this, which is really nice to see. It shows two things: that they're able to handle that sort of situation when they choose to. On the other hand, that little sink mark there, which you can just see there, due to only a small piece of plastic thickness on the inside there, so it's quite weird the way. Now luckily those don't matter because they get something over them, but why would you be able to avoid the sink marks luckily in the most important places here, and yet not over the entire model? But nevertheless, so far this model is leaving me with the feeling that this could be one of the nicest models for a number of reasons, even despite its faults. Size-wise, very nice. Overall complexity, now look, I've taken it out of the big box and now it's all in this one, except for the weapons. So it's the wing piece, which is a big piece, the fuselage, and I've reduced the overall manageable load down to quite a small selection. That's not all in here. I've painted some parts yesterday. But my point is that it's a big plane, yet not overly complex, very nice quality. Price seems to differ quite radically depending on where you try and source it. But, I think the difference in price between this one and this one is not in accordance with how much better this one is than this one. This one is actually very good value for money, I think. But it did get me thinking a little bit on the value of money, and I don't mean small to large necessarily. I sort of mean, how much enjoyment you get out of a kit, for how long, so many aspects, concluding in the end result of you feeling that was like the best you've ever done on a model, versus other smaller kits which maybe didn't cost you a whole lot, but they just zero good feeling afterwards. Although I shouldn't say zero, because mostly we wouldn't even start a kit if it was going to be a zero build. Give your thoughts, by the way, on that value. It's not just value for money, it's value of the model in your building career. And I sort of know that this Phantom will be absolutely one of the highlights of my building career. The Revell F14, which I built, is impressive and memorable, but it wasn't one of the highlights because it's quite a low quality kit. So it looks impressive in the end, but this Phantom I think is going to be an absolute gem. There was something which annoyed me a little bit, but I have to say I don't think there was another way around it necessarily. Now I've already flattened off this surface, and if I catch the light, no, it's not going to, it's not easily going to show up. Anyway, I've taken my flat file and I've flattened the surface so that I get a really nice glue joint once I glue these pieces together. But the connection to the tree, to the sprue, was partially on the front and partially on the undersurface, which we also saw on that trumpeter vampire, which had quite big ones. But what it means is that you stand the chance of damaging your pieces if you're not carefully. And I think, I can't remember, but there was one spot. There was one spot where I really came close to trimming it off too close and actually munching into the leading edge. So you do have to be careful. It's, can't remember if it was that piece exactly. I've been gluing a couple of pieces as well, a couple of halves. I won't glue the outer wing pieces yet because I still need to decide on what my plan is for that dihedral, but I will be gluing the halves of that together today. I'm trying to be really careful and glue well. Haven't done anything further with the intakes yet, but I'm really pleased with this model. I think it will be an absolute enjoyment to build. Ah, that was the other thing. The pieces are inside. I've been test fitting the undercarriage doors, the speed brakes, the air brakes, and the nose gear doors as well. Now, while the nose gear doors do require a little bit of attention, the speed brakes just need to be cleared, you know, sanded just really nicely. They fit in beautifully. Compared to the work which I needed to do on this one to close up. So, you know, Tamiya have done a really nice job. Maybe not perfect, but I'd say a 95% good job of, you could do open or closed undercarriage doors. There's also this panel on the top there, so I'll check. That should also be a very nice fit. So that's that. I didn't want to spend too much time talking about Phantoms only, because we have quite a number of other things to talk about. So along with okay, I'll do that in a different video. I just wanted to show the other Phantom, which is the F4J, which it's virtually an identical kit except for the nice different box art. And I also got some Porsches. Now, I'm not crazy about the GT2, but it is not bad. But what I sometimes like to do, and this is one of those cases where I like the car well enough, but I don't necessarily want to do it in that scheme. But those decals are really nice for making a Reno scheme. And one of the 1/48 Phantoms is going to go into a fictitious Reno scheme, which means that I have some, I've got many others, but I've also got now some of these racing decals to use for a fictitious Reno scheme. apart from the fact that F4s don't fly at Reno, but I think it'll look really cool. So this one's molded in black plastic, and I guess I'll do it in black. I'll think about that. It's not a very difficult kit at all. These both of these Porsches, which I'm going to show you, are quite simple. There's not a whole lot of work to them. This one's in a smaller box, but it's hardly simpler than the other one, which sort of makes me wonder sometimes why they make bigger boxes. This one's got the photo etch, which is quite nice. See there, that's it. Now this one's in a nice orange, and I will be painting this one in this bright orange, day glow orange. So this will be one of those cases where the plastic color can be used to help your paint process if you so choose. Just keep in mind that you still need to deal with interior color, so that you're not seeing a beautiful finish on the outside but orange or something shining through on the inside. So you do need to plan your handling of these orange parts. Now obviously all of those mechanical parts, you don't want them in orange, and probably nothing of this either. So you probably start off by getting rid of that orange and painting a grey primer or something on the inside there, or just straight up with whatever interior color you're going to do. You can get away with that. So this is one of the Porsches that I've been meaning to build for quite a long time, and I won't be stealing its decals because I want it in that scheme. So for the car, guys, some interesting cars there. Of all of these sports cars, these Porsches, especially this one, is of my favorite models. I've got other Porsche 911s and so on. I got some second-hand kits. I've liked the Mohawk for quite some time, and I've never built one at all. It's one of those slightly odd but interesting aircraft. So this will be a nice kit to build when I eventually get to that. Interesting canopy and framing. Not the most, I haven't seen a lot of these. Some of these are definitely not common aircraft, common models to find. The U2, I have attempted to build one before, and I sort of messed it up a little. I've still got it and I can still fix it. I think it was Airfix. Did Airfix make a U2? But this one is much better, very nicely molded one. And I do like a U2, and I feel that it's very much a gap in my models that I don't have a U2 on display. So with the Academies, the decals are questionable, but the model is nice. I got this one mainly because of the decals. I thought that was a very out of the ordinary display for this aircraft, and this will be one of those cases where I actually choose a model just because of the decals. So I'm hoping and I'm thinking that this will be a very interesting build. There's so many little small decals. Look at all those little tiny decals as well. Look at all of those. But anyway, that's aside the point. It's those main decals which will make or break this model. And I do think that's quite a nice jet. Now this Hustler is one of those aircraft which I thought was of the ugliest things that I've ever seen from the first time I ever saw a Hustler, and I still think it's a very weird plane because it has such nice lines and then these huge engines on the outside which totally break the lines. That was my thinking when I first looked at Hustlers. And I've never built, I don't think I've built one. I doubt it, because it is somewhat of a large aircraft. This has got a very nice decal set. And I'm quite sure that this model is going to be a very, very nice model to build. Quite large. And I'm not building it because I now think it's a beautiful aircraft. I still don't really. But I think it's an interesting aircraft, and I think historically in the history of aviation it's worth having in your collection. I will need, I think I watched a documentary the other day which covered a little bit of the history of the Hustler, but I would like to, I think they were, I can't remember if they were discussing the development of the Hustler versus the B-52. So that's a couple of the new things in the stash. This one is most likely to get attention first, and this is, now that's actually a good point. You know, there's some models which you just always love the topic, but it's not always easy to find a model that makes you that happy. And I don't know how many U2s there are in 172. I'm trying to think now. I mean, I'm guessing there's more these days than when I checked, you know, some time back. But I don't think there's a whole lot. I'm trying to think if there were some other topics that are, oh yes, that's right. So, you know, when I first got the 148th kits, the size of the 148th was like, yeah, that's quite a lot of build. And then you work on the 148s a little bit, and then you get a little bit used to that. And then this looks like quite an overwhelming build. And I know there's some of you that only build 132nd, and I'm guessing you're so used to it that it's, you know, it's not overwhelming at all, or even the size. If you had to move to this, you'd almost feel like you're building a 172. And the smallest of models are probably just so insignificant to those guys that build only 132nds. But because I build just about anything and everything, one of you was asking, do I build space stuff? Now I have that Saturn V rocket, which is quite a nice big thing. Apart from that one, I've only got maybe two. I've got a Vostok. There may be something else. I did try and start the lunar lander a long time ago, the FX one. I sort of got it built, but I wasn't that happy with it. I wouldn't be opposed to building another lunar lander at some point, but that Saturn V rocket is certainly something that will be on this channel at some point in the future. But I think in general one could say that I'm not collecting much on rocket. My interest in space stuff certainly is there, but I'm almost more likely to build a slap together fictitious lander of some form that one can put on a little diorama. That's more like what I might do. So for the rest, for this next week, now by the way, I'm not rushing this thing. I'm more like getting into it. I'm sort of getting to understand the thing. I need to work my plan of how I'm going to handle the LEDs and the battery. I'm wondering where to put access for battery change in the event that I need to change batteries at some point. It needs to be easily accessible. The actual LED placements is not a big deal and quite easy to do. You know, there's so much space in this model that honestly the LEDs for that one is quite a simpler thing. I just don't know where to put the battery, so it has to be some place that you don't see but can access, and I'm certainly closing up my cockpit, so that's out. Need to give that some thought. The nose cone is a possible option, but I'm not really planning on having a removable nose cone, so we'll see about that. But there is something that I almost forgot, and I don't think I have it here. No, I don't have it in here. Should have actually brought them out. The pilot figures, I kept my pilot figures from the F14, Tamiya F14. And I was looking at the pilot figures for this one, and you won't believe the difference in size. So the Phantom's pilot figures are, if you had to represent that in human form, they would be very, very small pilots, height-wise. If you put their bodies next to each other, they're somewhat close, but if you take the overall figure, the F-14 pilots are quite more obviously sizable. And I don't mean scale-wise. It's not like they've got the bodies out of proportion, but like the F-14 pilots have got good, proper long legs, and the F-4 Phantom, the Phantom pilots, not. So I'm guessing that's partially to do with fitting them into the cockpit easily and the possibly more compact vertical space in the Phantom. I'll post a photo of the differences there. That's a little bit interesting, which for the purposes of overall impression of the model doesn't matter at all, and you'd never know that the pilots weren't quite up to correct size on a completed model. But when you have the two different pilots next to each other, that's quite obvious. Okay, I'm going to go and do some more gluing. I could do, so I've sprayed gloss black on a number of the parts with a view to using the Alclad steel. I'll go and check what colors I've got. Some of the more internal to the engine type of colors. I didn't spray this yet because I still haven't made up my mind on that, on what I'm doing with that. So during the week I will work on parts, but I'll probably more be working on other models. And I just don't know where to look for this part anymore. But this will be a really, really beautiful model when finished, because I have such a nice scheme plan for that. Okay, happy modeling everyone. Cheers.